Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're working on this Case 580B, a construction king. This is a 1975 Case loader backhoe. Now before I get started, I want you guys to stop, pause the video, and go get yourself a beer. Seriously, go get a beer. Wow. So today we're going to do a general servicing on this Case 580B. She's long overdue and she's got some issues, so hopefully we can rectify it with some general servicing. Now the 580 is, in my opinion, one of the best loader backhoes ever created. What's nice about the 580s is they're super versatile. Case made them very affordable to people, and for general farmers, like you'll see 580s on so many farms. They're really handy. They're strong machines. They got a simple Perkins inline four-cylinder diesel engine. The backhoe itself is really cool. What's nice about the 580 backhoes is they tuck in real tight. This one's hanging out some, but it'll tuck in even tighter. And it's a real strong unit. The Construction King, the original Construction King, was like the prime thing of its time, but the 580 has just developed and it has really turned into like a signature backhoe, especially in the Americas. This 580 has these big pads on them. We call these farm pads. The reason why we call them farm pads is usually you're using this in soft ground, so these are really handy for, when you're out in like cow shit and stuff and you need a soft, wet area. You need a big footprint in order to get stabilized. Overall, this 580, she's really tight. The backhoe's tight. The rubber on her really ain't that bad. It's got some dry rot cracks, but all backhoes do. And she really starts and runs real nice. There is some noises going on, and we're going to dive into that. But really, I want to show you guys the importance of doing general servicing on your equipment. Before we get started, let's do an as-found review of what we have. I want you guys to listen to how it starts up. I think it starts up pretty darn good. And then we're going to listen to some noises and see if the general servicing we do rectifies those noises.
Listen as I give it some throttle. It's almost like a whining, scratchy noise. It's like a cavitation. And I can feel it right on this line here. Yeah, this line I can feel it. This is the suction line for the transmission. Damn, that thing is noisy. Usually you start with like an oil change, but let's start with the transmission filter because that bitch is too loud. Get your beer. We got to take this grill out and get to that transmission filter. So these are they should be 9/16 bolts, all of them. Okay, that's the last one. Let's take this out of the way. Just leave it down there on the ground. So this cute housing here, this is your transmission filter housing. And yeah, she's warm. I mean, this thing was cold. I started it cold, but she's warm already, so, the transmission pump is cold, ice cold. The radiator is ice cold, but the transmission is warm. So that's a sign that, I bet you this filter is clogged. I have to assume it is. And, you know what? Let's find out. This is again 9/16, so we're lucking out. Well, let's take these out. It's not coming out. There we go. Let's put this to the side. I can already tell you this is a bad filter. Not that the fluid looks bad, but look at all the bullshit inside. See all this like chewed up filament? You guys see that? There's like chewed up filament in there. This poor girl's been starving. Not good. Yeah, this filter is she's beat. She looks really clogged too, actually. Like the actual filaments here. Yeah. Time to change for a new one. So let's check out. Let's take a look at the new filter. This is an app of 1518, and sure enough, we bought a 1518, so that's good. So let's compare this to the new filter. Assembly instructions. Come on. I didn't know Keystone made filters. It's still cold. Holy. Shit. So the new filter element comes with a new retainer, which is nice, because that one's a little crusty. And yeah, look at this beautiful filter element. It's not swollen like this. Like, this one's really swollen. It's heavy. Man. It's got to be like 5 times the weight, at least. Granted, this is dry, it's not wet, but this thing is heavy. Nice and clean. There we go. I bet you this thing sounds 10 times better with this new filter on. I gotta check the fluid level too. So, to see what that's at. Oh yeah, she bottomed out. Let's make sure this is the right height. And it is. Okay. Should be a direct fit. Let's throw this in the tractor. Let's see what it does. So there's no top or bottom to this filter element, which is nice, and that makes sense. So let's drop that in there. It's a tight fit, real tight. Put my O-ring in. All right, let's compress this girl. Get a couple threads in. You want to kind of go as even as possible. I got a comment in YouTube that said I had bitch forearms. I don't know if anybody's ever seen my forearms, but I used to do arm wrestling. But I'll say I have bitch forearms. That's okay. So let's see what level the transmission fluid is at, and then let's start it and see if it sounds any better. So I figured this thing was about like 3/4 low at least, so it's the last bit of my brother-in-law's moonshine jar. So we're going to let that settle a bit and then check it. Hopefully I don't need to add any more. Hopefully that's enough. But it might be more. It might, it was quite a bit low. Let's see what this thing sounds like now. Left the key on. That sounds awfully quiet. All right. Let's put her in reverse. There we go. She's crawling now. No assistance. good. Let's go to second and go forward.
Now that the transmission sounded better, let's change the oil on this thing.
Alright. Alright. Well, this holds a decent amount. It doesn't hold like as much oil as like a big rig or like my my truck, but it holds, I think it holds at least 2 gallons. And the way I do my oil test is like to see how dark it is. And, you know, she's not that bad. Yeah, she's not that bad. This oil still had some life left in her. I got so many hatred comments that I didn't get every last drop of oil out of things. So I'm gonna let this thing drip for a few hours, just for you. Forgot to bring my bigger oil filter wrench, so I'm gonna have to use the old pliers here. Oh, okay. Now let's spin her on. Look at that. You know, the other Napa filter, same thing, 1452, had indentation and grooves. This one doesn't. I think everybody's making filters, you know, cheaper, so, because of how expensive the commodities are. Alright, that should do it. I only go hand tight on these things. After it gets hot, you could try to crank it some more, but that's all you got to do. Alright, I'm going to let the oil drip for about 10 more hours, and then I'll refill it. Guys, nothing's gonna be perfect, and everyone who hates on me that I don't let the oil drain out all the way, just go f*** yourself. Alright, I put a new crush washer on the drain plug, and we're sealing it up. Okay, let's refill it. We're going to use 15W40 diesel engine oil from Napa, and I'm going to add some engine restorer to this. They make 4, 6, and 8 cylinder engine restorer. I use this in some older stuff, especially engines that like haven't been rebuilt for a while, so I'm going to be using this one here. This is a 4-cylinder engine. I'm going heavy. I'm going for 6-cylinder formula. So I'm going to add this with all my diesel oil. Always want to shake the shit out of this. I've always had like decent luck with this. I'm not a big believer in like adding oils, additives and stuff to like my oil or like that thick shit. But this engine restorer always seems to do me like really good. So we want to keep this 580 from starting as good as it does. So we're going to give her some help and fill up this engine restorer. And I'm gonna add a full gallon and then I'll check the level, but I'm pretty sure this thing takes 2 gallons. Next on the agenda is replacing the fuel filters. This one is set up with 2 fuel filters. You have one that goes from the tank. This is probably like a 20 micron, and then it goes up here to a 5 micron. A lot of people get scared with changing fuel filters for whatever reason, but this is a really simple, straightforward job. First things first, going to the other side of the tractor, we're going to shut the fuel off. You have a petcock valve here. You're going to want to, ooh, she's tight. There we go. Let's turn this all the way in. And we're shutting fuel off. Fuel supply off to those filters. Okay. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Spin this off. Ooh. Definitely got some rust in here. While it's dripping, I'm gonna thread this right back on, that way we don't lose too much diesel. And I'm just gonna spin her on, just like so. Alright. And righty tighty, lefty loosey. That's plenty tight. Okay. 3381's done. Let's move up to 3380. Same thing here. This is another spin on. This one's got a bleeder valve up top. But same thing, you're gonna get diesel coming out of this thing too. And I'm just gonna take it off slow because you're gonna get diesel coming out. Hopefully, as much of it as possible can bleed back into the other one. We got our brand new filter here. Let's throw this one on. Oh, there you go, that's plenty tight. So at the top here, this is your bleeder valve. This is a 3/8. What's going on here? So just opening up my little bleeder here. After my bleeder valve is loosened, I'm going to go open up the fuel shutoff valve, just like you saw me, and we're going to wait until we see diesel come out. Flow valve is fully opened. And we're going to wait until diesel comes up through this. It should be pretty quick. I can hear it gurgling. There she goes. And now we'll shut that off. There you go. I'm going to get a rag, clean up my mess, and then let's start it and run it for a bit so that way any air bubbles get out of the system. I always think it's neat to see what the condition is of the filters. And so the first filter, which should be the most heavily damaged one, you can see up top here you have like rust deposits and sludge deposits. That's normal for a steel tank. You see that all the time, but let's shake this out and see what shit comes in here or comes out of the filter. Wow, actually, this fuel filter is really dirty. Really dirty, actually. Jesus. So this thing looks rough inside. I'm not saying this pan was perfectly clean, but look at all the shit that came out. Rust, dirt. So that was the primary. Let's clean this out and see what the condition is of the fuel in the secondary filter. So the secondary should be way cleaner. Should be. Pretty clean. Wow. This is dirty too. A lot of mud. A lot of mud. Look at this. See this? Oh, it's hard to see. I gotta move the camera. But yeah, a lot of rust and mud. It happens. I like to change my fuel filters. I mean, it depends how much you use the machine, but I would say for like a big backhoe like that, if you're using it for farm use, I'd say once every 2 years. If you're a heavy user, once a year. If you're using the thing for your primary business, probably 4 times a year. A lot of shit gets in fuel, so. All right, let's start this up, make sure it sounds okay. Key on. Just let that run and get any air out of the system. Next thing on the agenda is the air cleaner. See how it says top? Well, it ain't at the top. You're gonna wanna lift the loader all the way up so you can get to this, because you're gonna wanna remove the whole filter element. Underneath this is a band clamp that holds the cap of the filter housing. These clamps, they get rusty and stuff, so sometimes they can be hard to get. This one's taken, there we go. Just had a breaker. But yeah, you break this, you loosen this up. Out comes this top. And yeah, we got a couple dusties in there. Really not too bad. But yeah, you want the top because you see that little cutout, see the cutout port up top? You want that so that way any dust can settle at the bottom and not get to the filter. It's like a little trap. Ooh, look at that. So we'll blow that out. Next, what's this? Oh, a filter cap, okay. Just take this out, and then we'll pull the filter element out. Got the air compressor running. Your wing bolt. And let's take the filter element. She don't look too bad. Yeah, she don't look too bad at all. Yeah, let's clean this out. Why am I so heavy? What the hell? A keystone? And it's cold. Oh, shit. Oh, hey, man. Blow the shit out of the filter. All right, now that it's clean, we're gonna reinstall this. I don't know how a keystone got in there, but thank God it did. I was getting thirsty. Now remember, take top to top. Okay. She's on. She's on. Cheers. Next thing we're gonna take a look at is the power steering filter. This is an easy one. So the power steering filter lives in this canister here. This canister is also your housing for the fluid, your reservoir. Unfortunately, this is going to be a messy process, and you got to do your best to try to catch all the liquid that comes out, but ain't going to be perfect. This is held on with a 5/8 castle nut. Nobody really ever changes these filters, but it's really good to do so. If you're having a hard time steering your backhoe, I would check this filter first. Now there's no real combustion going on here, but water gets in these units because again, these tractors usually sit outside. Wiggle her. She'll come. She'll come. There you go. Just gotta break her free. It's broken forever. There we go. Oh, baby puke. Yeah, I'd love to tell you there's a better way to do it, but there ain't. And on the back side of your power steering pump is this cute filter housing. Let's get this guy in here. I want to be careful with this spring. I'm in the field, so I don't want to lose it. Now notice how this spring is oriented. Fat side to the filter. Let's take this filter element out as we drop the washer. And now this filter element really doesn't look too bad. There's some staining. You can see there's a chunk of rust or slug inside there. Yeah, I'm not too sure. We're replacing it anyway. That's your replacement from Napa, 1653. Check it, make sure it looks the same. Looks the same to me. Make sure you get your retainer. You're gonna need that. Fit that in like so. Let's drop this in. Alright. Once again, we're just fitting this on. There you go. It sits right on the pump just like that. Remember your spring. Fat side to the filter. Put your 9/16 nut on. There we go. And we're gonna tighten that up until it bottoms out. That's it. That's all she wrote. And this thing kind of wobbles. Yeah, that's good. If usually these don't come with new O-rings, so you're going to want to check this O-ring. This one's super pliable. I could already feel it. But if they're not pliable, replace it. I mean, really, I would just replace it anyway. These are pretty cheap. This rides on the outside of the actual pump itself. And let me move this closer. Hopefully you can see this okay. Do you see this? So really it encloses the pump housing. So it's really important that this sits properly. So I'm just checking, rolling it, just to make sure it's fully on. There we go, she's on. Yep, she's on. All right, let me get the housing and put that on. All right, there we go. Now this you're gonna have to crank pretty tight because a lot of times the O-ring has a hard time like getting engaged into this housing. I'm pointing to the filter housing. See that gap right there? You're gonna snug it until there's no gap. See how it's closing? No gap. And that's it. She's tight. I'll run this thing and get the air out. Turn the wheels. Get any air out of the system. And this thing sounds good, you know, it's not bitching like it was. Alright, now that this thing is all freshly serviced, let's take her for a cruise.
she does third gear just fine cruising. Fourth gear, it doesn't want to go up a hill, but I mean, when you're on a flat, she does fourth no problem. So, but third, I would cruise around in third actually. So, I like it. The other thing I would love to have shown you guys, but to be honest with you, I forgot, is replacing the hydraulic oil filter. You watch me change the transmission fuel filter, same thing, there's a filter cartridge in here. Pop this nut off, put a new cartridge in, throw it in. It's pretty straightforward. So that's about it for this video, guys. Again, this is a Case 580B, and I encourage you guys to do this type of servicing once a year. Again, this is a farm machine. We use it around the farm to do a bunch of shit, and we need it to live a lot longer. So doing basic maintenance like this keeps her ticking. So, and it sounds a lot better. Listen to that. He sounds great. Can't ask for more than that. Shit. Well, you know what? You can. I'll ask for a Keystone.